Hey guys, welcome back. In this episode, I want to talk on something a little bit deeper that I've previously touched on very quickly. So when you're starting out, when you're starting to think through your business idea, I've mentioned in the past thinking about your why, like what's your end goal, right? Every business needs to generate money unless you're running a nonprofit. And even then, it's even more so important to have a strong why, to have a strong understanding of why you're doing the thing you're doing. What I love in working backwards, and I learned this early on from a career, like an entrepreneurial coach that's actually in my family. And he was talking through how to come up, think about your business, how to be strategic about it. And he said, you always want to work backwards. And this is kind of the same model, just on a more macro level, where you're thinking about why it is you're doing the thing that you're doing. Why do you want the money to build the business? Why are you going about this thing? And I think it's really important to start to understand what motivates you. For me, in a previous video, I talked about superpowers. And so I'm always locked on to other people, understanding what motivates them. My education was in psychology, and I knew early on that that was always going to serve me well. I transferred 3 times. I went to 3 separate schools, moved all over, still graduated on time with the same major of psychology because I was convinced from day one to the day I left that understanding other human beings was going to be critical to whatever I did. And I also wanted to help people at a young age. I just didn't know how to combine business and helping people. But now I see things a lot different. So where was I going with that? Going full circle, I think it's really important to not underestimate and to fully understand what it is that's inside of you that wants this desire to have money, wants this thing that's inside you that wants to have a business. Why is it there? For me, I went through this whole process of trying manifesting, trying a whole bunch of different things. And through that process, I really struggled to visualize so many aspects of the business. But what I could see was speaking to a team of employees, building this thing, being made fun of, going through all of that. There's little bits and pieces I was able to really clearly visualize. And for me, I like the idea of having a team. I like the idea of working on a Saturday to make sure that payroll is getting fulfilled for that family who's counting on it coming in the following week, and making sure that hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars in payroll clears when it's supposed to clear, and that everything's happening as it's supposed to. And that's not to say I'm a CPA or I like accounting, because I really don't. But there are certain aspects of the business that really draw me to it. And the more time I've sat with it and thought about why, the more that I've been able to parse out and understand it's not just about the money. And where I'm going with this is when you can finally start to understand what it is in the business that attracts you to the idea of having a business, or maybe you already have an idea and you like that idea, the thing that tracks you in your core, the thing that motivates you in your core to that idea, it's really important to understand, because it's going to be the thing. And if you've ever seen Alex Hormozi or any diagrams or any things on startups, there's the startup trough, right? The valley of despair. And understanding your motivations for doing the thing will help you get out of the trough. And Alex talks a lot about how a lot of people, they start with, informed optimism. Then they have, they somewhere above informed pessimism, and then they're at the bottom of the trough, and then they start over again. They never climb the other side, right? So they always start with the negative side of the upside down bell curve, and then they restart it over and over and over. And I think a lot of people do that because they don't take the time to think about why it is that you're doing the thing that you're doing, why you care about doing the thing that you're doing, why do you want the money to, what's the end goal for you, right? I talked in my last video about how I don't want to do a services business. I would never go back into a restaurant. I watched my dad have many of them as a kid. My mom was involved. They're 100 hours a week, and it's around the clock, so much drama. And so if I'm going to spend that amount of time, I want to have something that's going to have a higher payoff. Why do I want a higher payoff? For me personally, I've identified that the money in and of itself isn't super fulfilling. I already know the cars and the thing, and that it's if you're living for that, it's going to be very, very short-lived. And in fact, Tom Bilyeu talks a lot about this. When he went to sell his company, some of the lowest low moments for him were selling it, or getting to a certain valuation, or getting success. And it's you get there and it's not what you thought it would be. And I don't need to go through that on a $1 billion scale to understand that I would have the same response for me personally. And so ultimately where I'm trying to go with this is you want to fall in love with the right part of the business, or the right part of the process rather. Let me say it again. You want to fall in love with the right part of the process. What does that mean? That means I've done this, I'm sure you guys have done this, but a lot of us will focus on the wrong things and we'll focus just on the end goal, just on the money and like one small, totally zoomed in perspective of why we want to do the thing that we want to do. And we'll become obsessed with it. So for instance, making these YouTube videos, I'm obsessed with getting my first negative comments. I'm obsessed with being made fun of. I'm obsessed with the process of like rolling these out. I've been doing multiple ones a day, and I as you guys can tell, I don't spend hours editing them. I don't let myself review them too heavily in depth. I don't beat myself up over them. I'm just like, there's 10,000 of these that I have to get through before I'm good. And I'm in love and obsessed with the process of pushing the weight, of doing the work until it gets better, until I get better. And so for me, I can go even a little bit deeper on this. So the things that cause me the most pain in my life, I still have things that I like battle with every day. Like I hate going to the gym. For me, my brother had early onset dementia, and there was like all this stuff happening in 2023 that made me really acutely aware of how am I treating my brain? Am I getting good sleep? What am I eating? What does intermittent fasting mean to me? Should I do it or not? And so the gym has been a big part of my life. And I still hate it. Like I hate going. It's like diminishing returns at a certain point for me, and I'm probably doing stuff wrong. But it's not something I want to invest like a ton of thousands of dollars in getting a trainer right now. It's really important to me, but I'm not ready to go to that level. And so I notice the most pain that I experience is while I'm like leading up to the gym, thinking about, it's coming soon. It's like I'm almost ready. It's like in a couple hours I'm going to be going and blah, blah. And it's like, Tony Robbins interviewed this Buddhist guy, and I forget his name, and he's brilliant. And one of the things he was quoted in saying, I believe Oprah Winfrey read his book and quoted this part of his book, and it said, the moment in front of you is not bothering you. You're bothering yourself about the moment in front of you, or the thing in front of you, or the person in front of you, whatever it is. And it's very true for me. And the more that I anticipate the gym and I think about it and I ruminate on it, the more pain I experience. It has nothing to do with the actual gym, because every time I go to the gym, I feel better afterward, right? So like, why am I dreading it? Every time I eat a chocolate cake, a whole one, or a pumpkin pie, I don't feel good afterward, but I look forward to it, right? So it's kind of like oxymoronic. But what I do to help combat this is two things. So number one, I fall in love with the process. I don't love going to the gym. I don't love going to the gym because I'm gonna have huge muscles and my brain's gonna function properly and whatever, right? I love going to the gym because I like the process, and I've mapped this in my mind. In my previous video, I talked about integrity, doing what you say you're gonna do, showing up when you say you're gonna show up. I like going to the gym because it builds my confidence, not because it makes me bigger or larger or stronger, but because it maps back to my integrity. I do what I say I'm gonna do. I go when I say I'm gonna go. I practice Ed Milet's whole thing of +1 more, of just doing one more set, of just doing one more minute of that plank, whatever. I make it a game. I make it a game of getting better. And for me, that is the number one reason that I'm there. I'm not there just for the gains or for all this other stuff. I'm there because I've fallen in love with the journey. I've fallen in love with the process. And knowing that there's no destination, it's helpful because it allows you to step back and focus on every day. And when you plateau, just becoming in love with whatever increments come thereafter and realizing that it's just about the reps, right? Alex Hormozi says it so clear and so well. It doesn't matter, how you feel about the work, whatever. Is it your fault? Is it someone else's fault? The weights just need lifting. The work just needs doing. And for me, I've fallen in love with that part of the process. It's embarrassing. It exposes your inadequacy, and it gives you the opportunity to get better. So if you can fall in love with the process, if you can fall in love with the level that you're on and the steps that you need to complete that level, the journey becomes much less painful, much more rewarding, and much easier to keep doing. So yeah, that was the nugget of truth I just want to share with you guys. I hope this helps you.